Hi, Phil Pustiowski here with freedommentor.com. I'm a full-time real estate investor, coach, and mentor. And in this video, I'm going to share with you how to determine property value. It is a very misunderstood topic. A lot of real estate investors get this wrong, which is the audience I'm talking to. But if you're a homeowner and you just want to know what your property's worth, watch this video. You're going to learn a whole lot about that. And I'm going to share with you where the confusion comes from and then how to get clarity. All right, now there is three main parts to this. What we're going to talk about first is how you value property. How does that work? So number one, how is real estate valued? And here's the great thing. This is really simple because you already do it. Picture buying an iPhone on eBay. Before you would buy that, wouldn't you try to look and see what other iPhones were selling for, identical to the one you want to buy, right? If you go to a grocery store and you want to buy bread and you can try to compare which one is the best deal, you are looking at different breads, right, to try to compare. So that process of looking at comparable sales is how you compare most items you buy to figure out if it's a good deal or if it's overpriced. Real estate's the same way. You look at comparable properties and you look at what they sold for in comparison to the property that you want to know the value of, and that's how you figure out what the value is. It's really that simple. So if it's so easy, how come everybody did it wrong, right? Not everybody, but a lot of people. Well, there are two main reasons why that happens. The first is where they're getting their information from, okay? Information source. That's what I'll put on this board because it's easy to fit. Where is the information coming from? All right, there's two places where it actually comes from, and the first one is county records. And county records is what can cause a lot of confusion. Let me talk about that. County records. Okay, so in every county in America, what you have is you have different departments. And two of the departments that we deal with for county records is going to be the tax assessor's office as well as the recorder's office or the register of deeds. So we'll start with the register of deeds. The register of deeds is the group that records deeds and other such documents. And so that can tell you some interesting information, such as what the property was, what liens are on the property, who the owner is, how long they've been the owner, when that deed was recorded, so when they became the owner, those sorts of things. And in some areas, the county records, and specifically the recorder's office, has sales information, but not all of them. Now this is where it gets a little squirrely. Okay, some states are non-disclosure states, like Texas, whereby they are not required to disclose the sales price on the deed that gets recorded. In other areas, it is disclosure, so they will show it. So states like Tennessee is a disclosure state, so they always have a line on the deed where you're supposed to put in the sales price, okay? But there's more to that, and I'll come back to that in a second. There is other states that are called strict non-disclosure states, like New Mexico, where there is no way it's required that there is no sales price on the deed. There you go. So certain states reveal sales prices at the recorder's office level, and some don't. And that can be a huge, huge hornet's nest, and we'll get more into that in just a second. Okay, so that's the recorder's office. The second is the tax assessor's office. Now, the tax assessor, their job is to figure out the relative value of each property in their county so they can tax it. And they can tax it as a percentage of the value, as long as what type it is as well. So if it's a duplex, which could be considered commercial versus a single family home, that sort of thing. So tax assessors are literally putting a tax appraisal on every property, every single one. So some look at that and say, oh, well, the tax appraisal, that must be a good source of value. No, let me tell you what happens to tax appraisals. The first thing is, most homeowners are not willing to share every bit of news with tax assessors. In other words, if they add 900 square feet in the form of an extra bedroom and bathroom, they may conveniently not tell the tax assessor. Why? So they can keep their tax assessment lower so they can pay less taxes. Also, in certain states, there are homesteads or other kinds of policies which, as you own the property, you can elect that the tax appraisal can only go up by a certain amount each year as a maximum. And what happens is, over the course of many years, that tax appraisal can lag way behind the real value. Does that make sense? So tax appraisals can be way off. And then also, the tax assessor is supposed to put the number of bedrooms, bathrooms, square footage, and that sort of information as part of their assessment. But they get that wrong all the time because they rarely get access inside a property. And like I said before, most property owners try to push down how many bedrooms and bathrooms they have because it'll reduce their overall tax appraisal. So, county recorders offices, both the recorders, the Register of Deeds, and then the tax assessor, these two, comprise county records, and county records can be way off. Does that make sense? Okay. So if they're way off, where do you get the rest of the information from? Good question. The MLS. The MLS is the multiple listing service. It's controlled by the realtors. And more specifically, each MLS is independently owned. And there can be more than one in the same geographic area. I live in Volusia County, Florida. There are 3 MLS systems in Volusia County. So the MLS, I'm going to just say collectively the MLS here, but each one is actually localized and independently owned. And the information is put in there by real estate agents. And the great thing about the MLS is that real estate agents have this natural checks and balances system. So that ensures that the listing information of each property is accurate. Here's how it works. Let's say you're a listing agent. You list the property. If you put in the wrong bedroom, wrong bathroom, wrong square footage, wrong anything, someone's going to find out about it when they go show the property and they're looking at the listing sheet and they say, hey, there's not 3 bedrooms in this house, there's only 2. And they're going to get upset with that listing agent, and then that listing agent either is going to make the changes or get a fine from the MLS. So what happens is you have this natural checks and balances, this accountability system with the MLS, so the data is just flat good. It's real good. Now the MLS has other features that are wonderful. It'll tell you not only the exact sales price that occurred, but also if there are seller concessions, meaning if the seller paid for closing costs and that sort of thing, because that really does play a role in the overall sales price. So the MLS is where the data needs to come from in order to make these accurate comparisons. But the MLS does have a couple of drawbacks. It doesn't tell you what liens are on the property. It doesn't tell you who the owner is. That's where the county recorder's office can help you. So really, a great real estate investor who wants to truly understand the property is going to use the best, or the strengths of the county records and the strengths of the MLS. And are going to bring that information together to make the right decision. But even if you have the right information, you can still completely screw up determining property values. So this is where the next part comes in. And that is, who is making the comparison? Who is comparing? In this day and age, there's a lot of people that love computers. And computers can do a lot of great things. They can calculate very efficiently, very consistently, massive number crunching. But computers don't see the bigger picture. Computers don't know when they have been programmed with a bug, because they don't know how to look outside themselves and say, hey, there's a bug. They can't tell if the numbers look wrong after they've calculated something. And so what happens is we have a lot of people who want computers to make decisions for them, when technically the best role of a computer is to help you be more informed so you can make great decisions. Humans are not computers. We have this wonderful ability to do all sorts of things that at this point, especially in the real estate investing world, technology is not available yet to duplicate the human brain. And so what happens is this. The things like Zillow, Trulia, and so many other of these systems, they've made a lot of headway, and they're doing better and better all the time. But they have massive weaknesses. And one of those weaknesses is they're drawing all of their information from the county records. Tax assessor is where they're getting the bedrooms, bathrooms, square footage, which could all be wrong. And then not only are they using that, but they're then trying to figure out which properties are comparable, and they're doing a circle around the property, say a 2-mile radius. But you and I both know that every part of the U.S., there are pockets where if you go 2 miles apart, they're completely different worlds, right? You can go from absolutely the nicest part of town to complete ghetto in 2 miles. And so, but the computer doesn't know that. Zillow, Trulia, I mean, in fact, there's a lot of other, you can pay for some expensive stuff, Sitex Data, RealQuest. They're all getting their data from the recorders of the county records, and then they don't really have a good way to be able to match up neighborhoods and houses, right? So what if you've got a bunch of new subdivisions interspersed with some really old subdivisions? Well, you don't want to compare those brand new homes with those super old homes. It's just not even a comparison. What if there's brand new built homes being dropped in the same neighborhood as an older neighborhood? So the computer can't be the comparing mechanism. The computer can't be the one to choose which are comparables, true comparables. That's what you're looking for. That's what the MLS gives you, some true comparables. So again, let's go back to our iPhone example. If you're trying to figure out if the iPhone's a good deal or not, you need to look at the identical iPhones that you're looking to buy and be able to compare what those sales were. And so to get that apples to apples comparison in real estate, you need to find accurate comparable sales, and computers just can't do it. I mean, Zillow, Trulia, they can be an absolute disaster on values. Now that can actually work for and against you. If the homeowner sees it and they think the property value, say $20,000, and it's really worth $100,000, and that's what Zillow said it was 20, you know, that may actually help you in making an offer, but it could also work completely against you as well. So these systems right here, I see it all the time. Real estate investors, they don't know how to get access to the MLS. They don't know all this, and so they just try to take shortcuts. And they'll use Zillow, Trulia. They may even compare like 3 or 4 different online free systems to see what the property value is. They may even throw in the tax appraisal as well, and they'll all average them together. Bad idea, because all of these systems are all using the same bad data, and they're also using the same bad circle radius comps in some cases. And so they're all giving you numbers that are all bad, really. And that's the best way to describe it. So what you want to do differently, how you want to determine property values is this. You want to get access to the MLS. By the way, I have an entire video on how to get access to the MLS for investors. You can search that in YouTube or go to my website, check it out. And then you want to use these comps, and in conjunction with what you learn from the county records. Again, that won't help you necessarily with value, but it'll help you know like who the owner is and what liens they have against the property. And then what you'll do is, you're just like you would do if you were buying an iPhone, if you're buying bread at the grocery store, get the most comparable properties. Picture you were going to buy that property and start to look at the comparables. How do they compare with the subject property that you want to know the value of? You know, if it's say $300,000 was one of the comparables, why was that one $300 and the other one was $275? What made it different? Did this one have more square footage? Did this one have an extra bedroom? And you don't have to be scientific about it. You don't have to, you know, do a detailed price per square foot, because guess what? Buyers aren't doing that. Values are really determined by what properties sell for. And who determines what they sell for? The people buying them, the people making offers. That's why you don't need to be scientific in many ways when it comes to understanding when you compare these things, these comps together. Instead, you want to just look at them all and then start to determine, okay, because you already know how to do this. You're already doing this in your daily life. Say, okay, this one sold for $265. This one sold for $310. What's the difference between these two? You know, and then that way you can kind of come into a range of what it's really going to sell for in the real world. And that's how you determine property values. You already have the skill. You just need to get access to the right information and make sure that you're doing the choosing of the comps, not computers. And if you do get lucky and Zillow actually calculates correctly in your area from time to time, great, but don't rely on it. You need to know on every deal as an investor exactly what the value is and not to be off ever. I mean, this is critical. When you know what property values are, then you can be a wise investor and you can make wise decisions on whether or not to invest. All right, well, I'm Phil Pustiowski with freedommentor.com. You can learn so much more about us by going to our website. This particular subject, I also have a blog article written, so feel free to read that as well. That'll give you a lot more insight. I even give links to Zillow where it shows you, where Zillow talks about how bad their accuracy is in certain states like Texas. They're like a 1 star out of 5. It's terrible. But nothing Zillow can do about it. And so please check those out, those resources. And again, Phil Pustiowski with Freedom Mentor. Thanks for watching.